Welcome to our podcast called The 3-Minute Reel, brought to you by AIM Higher in Education Incorporated. This particular series is called Real Talk on Education. I'm your host, Raketa Thomas. In today's show, we are finishing our conversation with Mike and Laurie. Let's get started. So what lessons have you learned from last year that you hope to apply this year?
I learned a few. Number one right off the bat is that, your lessons have to be super engaging. Having slide decks where you're embedding polls and stuff, or if you're going to show a video, maybe embed questions using Edpuzzle. Or another thing I learned is that parent communication or communication in general with parents is a very fragile ecosystem. And what I mean by that is, at the beginning, parents are super happy to hear from you. But, when you have a student who's not actively engaged in your class, they're probably not actively engaged in other classes. So they're just getting bombarded. They're doing their best and, their phone's ringing off the hook. And I think eventually they just kind of shut down and, they just said, I'm doing the best I can. And, they just stopped picking up their phone.
Because there is now an opportunity for that synchronous piece. And that was something that was sorely missing last time. What are some issues you're kind of seeing with that mandate of that synchronous learning kind of coming into play?
We've talked about the possibility of recording your synchronous times. And I think that's going to be really important too, so that if I notice that a student is not on, then I can at least reach out and say, here's the link for the recording of that lesson that they missed. Let's see if we can. And then also, I'm going to have some office hours and some times on that Friday, especially, but then other times during the day that I can reach out one-on-one with that student and be able to hopefully do some catch up. I think that will be an important piece.
Last spring was, it was great that they were passing on hotspots, but it seems like they were running out of data. If you've got a family of, like Laurie's talking about, 3 kids, are they sharing a hotspot? And if so, that data is going to go fast.
Technology-wise, we can do what we do in the classroom, and that is kind of do those assessments as we're going along and realize, okay, we're trying it this way. This part is working. Let's bump that up. This part isn't working. Let's figure out a fix.
I've been in communities where they have free Wi-Fi.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe this is the time where the city or our communities look into things like this. It just kind of levels the playing field a little bit. Like, now is the time to make that jump.
Is there anything your school or district has implemented due to remote learning that should be kept in the future?
And we talked about the mobile hotspots being put on buses and being placed all around the county. I also like the idea of the Flex Friday. We delivered instruction remotely 4 days a week, and on Friday, the kids had a chance to kind of catch up, and it also just gave families a chance to breathe a little bit.
So between the instructional technologists at the school being there to support, we have a way to consistently deliver instruction.
Our district has added another layer to that with a CARES team where they have hired people to go out in the communities and help these families kind of get back on track. And I think that's definitely a push in the right direction.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, The 3-Minute Reel. We hope you enjoyed it and that you'll come back and hear the next one. This podcast has been brought to you by AIM Higher in Education Incorporated, where we focus on education for success.